Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Joseph, and in today's video we're actually going to be editing one of the images from the previous behind the scenes. So if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to leave it in the card somewhere here. You can check it out. But what we're going to be doing is, working inside Photoshop, just trying to get the best looking image. So what I've done is I've actually gone through the images that I shot, and I'm just going to pick one that has a little bit more work to do. So if I say work, it doesn't necessarily mean like skin work or anything, but just basically a lot of things that I need to do to, get the image that I was looking for when I was capturing the shots. So for example, these are all like very, very beautiful shots, but they don't have a lot of challenges aside just fixing the background and all of that, compared to like this image, for example, which I absolutely love. I love the pose, I love everything about it, but the only thing bugging me is the way the fabric is looking. If I go to the next image, for example, you can see that this fabric drapery has a lot of texture and it has more of a dynamic feel to it compared to the one before, which is just like a smooth red fabric that looks so boring. So if I just select the two of them, for example, the image on the left, I love the expression, the pose and everything about it. And also if you look around here, the back of her dress needs some fixing, which I can also still borrow from the dress right here, even though that also needs fixing. I'm sure if I mask this into that shot and I just do the rest in Photoshop, it's going to look a lot better. Then also we need to fix our background. As you can see, my softbox is speaking through, my backdrop is very small and it's also showing through, and then my stands as well, including the curtains. We need to get rid of all of that. I feel this has a lot more work to do in terms of fixing all these things to, bring the vision to life, compared to the other images, which are just really simple and then don't really have a lot of work to be done on them. So without wasting my time, let's jump right into Photoshop and then fix all these little things and then see how our final image comes to life. But then again, before we jump into it, I'm going to be using my retouching workflow actions to edit this image. So if you don't have that, you can go into the description box and then you can copy it. It's going to help you retouch better and also help you create consistent results every single time. And also I'm going to be color grading these with some of my LUTs and my presets, but mostly my LUTs. So if you don't have that, you can also get it on my digital store. Link is down in the description box. All right. So jumping on, what I want to do right now, I'm inside Bridge. I really love the way the colors look. Everything looks a little bit muted. I absolutely love it. I'm really not too concerned about post-processing these inside Camera Raw before I move them into Photoshop. We can just go straight into Photoshop. But then again, because I'm using two different images, I want to load both of them at the same time into Photoshop. And there's a quick way to do it from Bridge. Just select the two images that you need, go down into Tools, and then come down to Photoshop, and then all you're going to look for over here is load files into Photoshop layer. So what this is going to do is it's going to import both images. Regularly when you're importing different images, they're going to load into different tabs inside Photoshop, but because we just want to keep one single document and stay organized, and we want all these files to be moved onto one single document without creating all the other ones, this is just a simple way to load all these two different files. Even if you had more of them, you can load all of them and it's going to be processed into the same document inside Photoshop. I'm just going to click on that and wait for Photoshop to load. As you can see, we have these two different layers loaded up inside Photoshop. Now that we have both of them, what I want to do is just align them a little bit. I know I shot from a completely different angle, but I just want to keep my background and any other thing that stayed, very, very close to the same, in the same space. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select the two of them now. Make sure I have my move tool selected. I'm going to go down to edit and then come down to auto align layers. So clicking on that is going to open this new dialog box where you can choose whatever projection that you want. So if you want to auto, perspective, collage, if you want to reposition something, whatever it is, you can do that there. But I'm just going to leave it on auto and then press OK. So now Photoshop is just going to analyze the image and look at what stay the same and then just try and arrange them. So if I do it before and after now, you can see that the only thing changing the most is hair, but the background is staying almost in the same space, right? What I want to determine is which one is going to be my background image and which one is going to be my top image, which I'm going to be using to, fill in the errors in the background image, if you get what I mean. All right, so this obviously is the image I'm going to be using to fix a lot of the issues with the other image. So I'm just going to drag that down because I want that to be on top, and we're going to hide that just a little bit for now. Okay, so the first thing I want to fix is going to be the fabric. All right, so I'm just going to make this visible, and I'm going to make a duplicate of it. All right, so we can hide this and then we keep this so that if we make any changes or if we need several parts of it, we can just easily activate it and then use it. All right, so now this is just to fix the red drapery, right? So what I'm going to do is rename this to red fabric so that I know that this is what the layer is doing, is just fixing the red fabric. All right. Now that we've established that, it means that we don't need hair as much in the frame. So what I'm going to do is just use my lasso tool. I'm just going to draw around just like that. Everything else isn't really needed. All right. And what I'm going to do is just click on the layer mask. And as you can see, if I hide this bottom layer, we rather have hair visible, but what I want to be visible is the red fabric. So I'm just going to click on the layer mask icon and hit Command I. So that's going to invert it, and now the only thing visible is the red fabric. So if I make the background layer visible now, we just need to align it and then paint in what we need. All right. So just going to hit Command T and just look for where I can, almost align this properly. I'm also going to reduce the opacity so I can see exactly where it is. I think somewhere around here looks good. I think I need to use more of her knee to align this and also make it a little bit bigger. Just like that. And I'm gonna hit OK. So now that we have this in place, what I need to do is just move the opacity back to 100%. And now we can start painting with black to hide what we don't want to be visible. I'm also going to use a very soft brush so that everything just fades in and blends in beautifully. With this, you need to go back and forth several times until you find like an area that's really working well for you. So at this point, I'm just going to keep this looking like this. We'll come back and fix it a little bit more. What I want to do is just apply the layer mask so that all we are left with is this. And then I'm going to hit Command T, and then I'm going to click on this little icon so it brings up this controls, and then I can just move this more into place. So something like this looks really good. Awesome. All right, now that we have the fabric in place, you see it took just a few seconds and it's already looking good. If I do it before and after, you can see that it is well blended in because it's just a fabric, right? So you can get away with, some mistakes. So don't spend too much time doing this. I'm going to hit Command T to bring up my crop dialog box. And I'm just going to crop this in a little bit more so that I don't waste my time spending too much time on things that wouldn't really show in my final image. So something like this, press enter. And now this is the crop that I want to stick with for the image. Maybe I'll still crop in a little bit more, but for now, I'm just going to keep it here. And then we're going to move on from this point. All right. Now I'm going to turn on the other image. And what I need to do is just select the back area. So I'm going to select this area and hit Command J. Actually, you need to make sure you're on that layer and hit Command J, and now it has duplicated just the back here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, also reduce the opacity just a little bit, and then hit Command T, and now I can just drag this around and make sure I'm aligning it at a place that looks really good. So just using the sleeve, for example, and also looking at the hair position somewhere here. Actually rotate it a little bit. Go up a little bit more, just like that. Also make it a little bit bigger. think this looks good. I'm gonna hit enter and also increase the opacity to 100. Now you can see that the sleeves aren't matching, the hair area it's blended a little bit, and then over here as well, but the part that we need the most is just this area right here. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm going to create a layer mask, and now with my black brush I can just start painting away the areas that I don't need. So for example, I don't need these areas, just painting that out. And then I'm just painting to her hair just a little bit like that. So we have the original hair showing through. You can see I mistakenly painted this area in. I'm just going to reverse it and then paint that out because I don't need it. Just like that. And then just paint away this area. Also come down right here and paint this out just so it blends in. I'm going to reduce my flow just a little bit and just paint that out just like that. So if I do it before and after, you can see that we have replaced the fabric. That's looking good. Just need to fix this area like so. I'm always switching between the black and white as I'm painting so that I can make this as seamless as possible. Now if I zoom out a little bit and do it before and after, you can see that we have fixed the back of the dress and it looks really good. I think I would want to maintain this area, so I'm just going to paint with black and just hide that, and let's let the original show through. I don't mind the way it looks over here. The main issue was at the top over here. Okay, now I'm just going over and then fixing areas that I feel need a bit of fixing, just like that. All right, so if I merge all these down, this is all of the changes that we've made so far, and I think it's looking really good. Now what we need to do is just fix our background, and then we can start processing the image a little bit more. So S for clone stamp, and because this is out of focus, I can just use the clone stamp tool, select, and then just heal or paint or clone over this area. So now that I want to get close to this area which has like a mixture of fabric and background, I'm gonna select somewhere around here. All right, and then when I just bring this down, I can quickly just paint, and you can see that we've been able to fix that very, very easily. All right, I don't want to keep a lot of layers. I know that these changes I've made, I'm actually going to commit to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a stamp visible layer of everything. So Shift, Option, Command and E is going to create a stamp visible layer. And now I'm just going to hit Command E to merge everything down. So all we have is a layer 1, which is just like a direct copy of the background layer. It just has all the adjustments or the changes that we've made so far combined and merged onto that single layer. All right, so now that we have that, what we need to do is just fill in our background. And there's a quick way to do it because Photoshop has become very intelligent now. Just use your lasso tool and just draw around the area that you want to fix, just like that. Go to Edit, come down to Content Aware Fill, and then let Photoshop ask you the areas that you want to sample from. I don't need this area, for example, so I can just paint that out. I don't need this area, so paint that out. And the parts that are in green is the area that Photoshop is going to sample from to fix that area. And as you can see with the preview, it has been fixed. All right, so I'm just gonna hit OK, and it's going to create that onto a separate layer. So if I hit Command D and do it before and after, you can see that it has seamlessly replicated beautiful textures that match the background in just a single click. That's absolutely amazing. I'm going to fully commit to this. So I'm going to hit Command E to merge it down. And as you imagine, we're going to do the same thing all around. So I can just draw around just like that. Go to Edit, come down to Content Aware Fill. Let Photoshop ask us where to sample from. I'm just going to get rid of the selection from her feet, even though it didn't really affect that. I just want to, make the sample area as clean as possible so Photoshop doesn't struggle when looking for areas to, you know, use as a sample point. All right, just like that. Doesn't really take so much time. And because we have like a very large area, it's actually fine if you just get rid of all of these. All right. So you can see Photoshop has done an amazing job sampling around and filling that area. I'm going to fully commit to this. I'm going to press OK, but some areas look like they've been repeated. For example, this area right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge this down, and I'm going to use my trusty old clone stamp tool, and I'm just going to sample random areas that I like, and then I'm going to paint all of that in. So create a new layer, sample right here, and paint that in. Also use a very low flow so everything just blends seamlessly. I'll go into the corner right here, maybe sample and paint. I'm also just trying to randomize the background textures a little bit. Perfect. I'm going to merge this down, and now when I do it before and after, you can see that we've come a long way just using a few steps, and our image is already looking very good. I'm going to recrop this, maybe just bring this down a little bit, and yeah, maybe just a little bit more, and also crop from the bottom. Let this go up a tiny bit, just like that. Commit to it, and this is now my new crop, so we can move on further to enhance the image, make it look better. All right, so I'm going to go on to filter, come down to Liquify, and what I'm going to do here is just fix the outfit or headdress just a little bit better. So I'm going to zoom into this area. I'm going to use the warp tool, and now I can just warp this around just like so, and push this in a little bit. You can see I'm just making slight adjustments, nothing too crazy here. Also, once I'm here, I will just round in her hair just a little bit. I like how random it looks, but I just want to define the shape a little bit. So here's a before, after, before, after. I like it. Just gonna dip over here, like so. Press OK, and now we have our Liquify committed to the image. So before, after, before, after. Absolutely amazing. All right. Thankfully, our subject doesn't really have a lot of skin blemishes, so what we're going to do now is just heal some of these little spots that are showing through. I'll create a new layer, hit J for the healing brush tool, and now what we need to do is just sample clean areas and then paint over the areas that we want to get rid of. I know you've seen me do this 1,000 times, so I'm just going to speed this process up so the video doesn't become too long and boring. Alright, so now that we are done with the healing, if I zoom into her face, you can see all I did is use a healing brush, but we've been able to get rid of almost all the blemishes, and her skin looks flawless at this point. I don't really need to do too much to the skin right now, but I'm going to run my frequency separation action and dodge and burn just to fine tune everything a little bit, and then we'll move on to color grading from there. So I'm going to go into my actions. I'm going to run the 16-bit action for the frequency separation. I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to choose a radius. I think somewhere like this is okay. Maybe just go up a little bit more. Press OK. And I'm going to turn on the helper layer. I'm going to open that and reduce the curves a little bit so it's not too dark. somewhere like so, just so I can see the differences in the tonality. I'm going to come down into the FS, go down to blur copy, hit B for my brush tool, press and hold, and come down to mix a brush. Now that's what I'm going to be using to smoothen the skin. All right. I always say that my aim with frequency separation is not to get the image to look 100% smooth at this point. It's just supposed to make my dodge and bend process a lot easier. So when I'm doing frequency separation, the idea is not to get the skin to look like very, very smooth at this point. Turned off the help layer, before, after. You can see it's very, very subtle. But again, the idea is not to fix everything with frequency separation. So I'm just trying to reduce the amount of work that I have to do with dodge and bend, because that's what I'm going to spend a lot of the time. Alright, now that I'm happy with this, I'm going to delete the helper layer, go back into my actions, and I'm going to hit dodge and bend complete, press play, and that is going to run all the actions I need for dodging and bending. Alright, I'm going to open the dodge and bend complete folder that the actions created for me, and I'm going to go into the curves, and again I'm just going to reduce that because I don't want it to be very contrasty. I want to be able to see the variations. Now zooming into her face, this is where we're going to start off with. I'm going to hit dodge, and then I'm going to go and select a regular brush, but also reduce the flow to just about maybe 1 or 2, maximum 3%. And that is what I'm going to be using to smoothen the skin. I'm going to be painting with white on the layer mask, and that should now help me just reduce all these variations. Right, if I do a before and after, just around the nose area, if you couldn't see, here's a before, after. You can see that we've opened up those shadows, and it's helping with making that area look a lot smoother. So that's all I'll do. She has very good skin. The lighting was very good, so I don't really need to do so much, just a little bit of fixing here and there, and we'll have like a very beautiful image. Plus, this isn't also supposed to be like overly edited. I want it to look a little bit natural. So the idea or the aim doesn't include me over processing the image. So I'll just try and be random about it. Just go to the areas that immediately jump out at me and then be fixing that with the dodge and bend. Currently, all I'm doing is just dodging. If I do it before and after, you can see we're just making tiny strokes, but then it's coming a long way to make the image look good. I'm also just going to be varying my zoom ratios so that I can focus on certain areas that need a little bit more attention. But then again, the aim isn't to stay in a very zoomed area, because that's not how the image is going to be viewed. So I will just go back. It's just because this area needs a little bit more attention. I zoomed in so I can see like the area I'm fixing a lot more. Okay, I think I like where we are with the face. Here's a before, after. I'm just going to scan through the image and see if any other area needs dodging, and I'll just dodge that as well. If you want to vary the size of your brush, just use the left and right bracket keys. So my hands are constantly on it, whilst my other hand, so I have like these two fingers on the left bracket key and on the right bracket key. So if I want to make the brush bigger or smaller, I can just be clicking between the two. And then I also have my Wacom in another hand, where I'm going to be using that for painting with the Wacom pen. I'm going to go back and go on to burn now and start with the face, and any area that I feel needs a bit of darkening, I'm just going to start darkening those areas down, just like that. Again, I'm not being too serious about it because the idea is not supposed to make the image look overly processed. I just want to add shape, you know, and then make the image just look a tad bit refined, even though we don't need a lot of work to be done. You don't always need to be heavy-handed with your retouching. Let the image determine how far you need to go, you know, or the idea that you had when you were shooting the image. Let that define the way you post-process your image. All right. If I turn off the black and white and just do a before and after, you can see that we've added shape to her legs. It's looking a little bit brighter. Her face also just looks a tad bit smoother. And that is all that we wanted to do, right? And we've been able to achieve that with just a few strokes. Now I'm going to run another dodge and burn. And for this one, I'm going to like run separate ones. I don't need the helper layer. So I just run the dodge and the burn, press play. And quickly, I'm also going to run the dodge and burn invert check layer. I use this for beauty images, but I just want to randomly go through the image and then see if, you know, there are certain areas that I probably may have missed. It's just a check. All right, so I'm going to zoom into the face. I think there are certain areas that I missed, but I think they are fine. Coming down to her hand, down to her leg area. Let me just zoom out a little bit. I think we're fine, to be honest. Maybe let me just fix this area that needs a bit of burning. So I'm gonna go to the face again, and with my brush, I'm just gonna burn these areas down just a little bit. Just like that. In case you don't see what's happening, here's a before and after. You can see I'm opening up like those areas just a little bit. That's all. It's not that much. I might as well just dodge this area right here. Perfect. I can delete the check layer now because I don't need it. And if I just do it before and after, I can see that it was just like a tiny part on the face that needed to be burnt in, and the check layer showed me that, and I fixed it. All right, now I'm just going to go onto the dodge layer, and I just want to add a bit more light to her legs still. So I'm just going to go over the areas that the highlights or the lights are already present at, and I'm just going to paint over those areas some more. And then I'll go to burn, and then just darken the areas that need to be darkened a bit. So we're just increasing the contrast in the image. That's just going to make it pop a lot more. I'm also just doing a little bit of burning in the dress, so all the areas in shadow, I'm just burning them just to make them look a lot darker. Go on to dodge, and now just, you know, add a bit of pop onto the areas that are needed, even in the dress. So the bright areas, I'm just painting over those just to make it a little bit brighter. So if I group these and then just do it before and after, you can see that we have added a tiny bit of shape and dimension to the images, making it really, really pop. Now, analyzing the image from here, what I want to do is just add a bit of contrast. So I'm just going to go create a curves and then just move the dark areas in a little bit, and then also just bring the highlights out just a little bit. I'm also going to go to the midtones area and then just lift that up a little bit, and then add a bit of shadow over there as well. So here's a before, after, before, after. I really love the way it looks. All right, so now from here, we can decide to play with color just a little bit, and then we can move on from here. So I'm going to go into my actions. I want to add just a little bit of structure to the image. I'm just going to click on structure, press play. Now the actions is going to run all the calculations, and it's going to open a new high pass filter, and then we can choose the radius that we want. I think somewhere around here. Press OK, and just press OK again. And as you can see, it's added just a bit of pop to it, but it's overdone. All these actions are very strong, so just, you know, fine tune it by using the opacity to adjust it to the level that you want. I think I'm just gonna make it like 16 or 17% before after. It's very, very subtle, but it is present. All right, so before after. It's a very subtle change. Maybe just go up to 20. Before and after. I love it. All right, now I want to color grade the image. So I'm going to go into my actions and look for color grade, and I'm just going to press play. So what this is going to do is just create the layers that I typically use to color grade, which are selective color. Let me just open this up a bit. So it's a mixture of selective color, hue saturation, color balance, and then color lookup. I don't always use all of them, but then they're there so that if I need to use it, I can easily use it. So I'm going to start off with color balance. I'm not going to use color lookup today. I want to do everything a bit on the manual side. So we'll start off with the midtones, and I just want to, you know, just move that into a reddish tint and just add a bit of green as well. And then go into the yellows, and then maybe just actually move towards the yellows a little bit because I'm going for a bit of a vintage vibe. Then in the highlights, I'll do the same thing, just add a bit of yellow, add a bit of red, add a bit of green. Then I'll go into the shadows, and maybe we can just cool that down a little bit. Add a bit of green into the shadows still, and maybe we can add a bit of red into the shadows right there. All right, from there I'm going to go into hue saturation, and inside the master, let me just see, maybe I want to just move it towards red just a little bit, so maybe -2, and then desaturate it as well. I'm going to go into the reds, and yeah, actually just move a little bit to the negative side, so -1. Desaturate the reds just a little bit, just like that, and just darken it down by reducing the lightness a little bit. I'll go into yellows, and let's see what we can do to the yellows. Also, maybe just move that down, desaturate the yellows a tiny bit, and also reduce the lightness. So here's a before and after of what we've done. You can see that we're dulling down the red fabric. I think it's just muting the colors, and it's looking really good. All right, I'll go into maybe a little bit of green, and actually just saturate the green just a little bit, just like that. All right, I'm going to go into selective color now, and we're still going to play with the reds a little bit. As you can see, when I'm moving the cyans, also affecting her skin tone and affecting the red fabric a lot. I think I just want to move that maybe +2. And let's see what magenta is going to do to it. Also just add a bit of magenta. Go into yellows. I think I want to add just a tiny bit of yellow into the reds. Now we're going to move into yellows. I think moving cyan out of it is actually looking good. And then let's go into magenta. Let's add a bit of magenta. And then yellows. Yeah, I think I like a little bit of less yellow in the yellow. All right, now let's move into the neutrals and see what we can do with the colors. Again, color grading is really, really subjective. It's up to you, what you feel, how you feel, you know, and then just pushing and pulling. As you can see, I don't really have like an end goal in mind. I'm just pushing and pulling these sliders, just having fun with it and seeing what, you know, works for my mood and what I'm feeling right now. I'll go into blacks. Let's see what we can do with the blacks. Yeah, actually maybe just add a bit of blue into the blacks. Add a bit of magenta. Yeah, this is looking good. So this is the entire color grade that we've done. I love the way it's looking, but I'm just going to reduce the opacity just a little bit, maybe to about 60%. What I want to do now is just add a photo filter, like a warming photo filter. I'll keep the defaults. I'm using the warming filter 85. If you click on it, there are other options. For example, you can go into red. It's going to add like a red filter. You can go into orange. It will add like an orange filter. And if you want to even go into like blue, for example, deep blue, you can see that it's added like a very nice blue tint to it. That's actually not bad. But I'm going to go back into my warming filter 85, and I'm just going to reduce opacity, and I'll click another photo filter, and this time I'm just going to cool it. So I'll go down into the deep blue because I absolutely love that blue tint, and also just reduce the opacity. So color grading is just always mixing and matching and finding out what's going to work for you. At this point, I think I like where we are. And even though I created like a color grading group, all of these things are outside that. So I'm going to create a new group out of that and then call this color grade. And then when I do it before and after of everything, you can see the way the colors are muted and we have like some beautiful colors in there. I absolutely love it. But I'm going to add a vibrance filter and then just increase the vibrance just a little bit. And also just add like +1 on saturation. Yeah, I think I love where we are right now. All I need to do is just add my noise, press play outside the color grade group. So press play on noise, and then we're just going to add a bit of noise onto the image. That's absolutely beautiful. I love it. And then I'm going to sharpen the image. So I'm going to go on to sharpen. If I can find it, press play. And you can see the actions actually just have everything at your disposal. You just need to click and it's going to do all of the work for you. That's why I absolutely love it. I'm going to click onto her face, maybe just reduce the radius so the sharpening is a little bit more controlled. Somewhere here, press OK. And if I zoom in to her face, we don't have the sharpening filter on yet because the mask is set to black. I'm going to hit Command I, and you can see it just added a bit of pop to it. I absolutely love it. Because of the sharpening that I did, I want to reduce the noise layer a little bit. So from 20, I'm just going to bring that to like 10%, just so we reduce it a little bit. And I absolutely love the image at this point. It's looking really, really good. Yeah, so that's it for today's video. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a thing or two. Tell me what you feel about the way I was able to mask the fabric into it, the way I, fixed the dress, and, using my actions to create this stunning image. The image was already looking stunning, but I absolutely love like all the steps that we've taken. So if I just go before again, like to start from the beginning, this is where we were, this is what we had, this is what we started with. So we had two different images, and then we fixed like her dress, we fixed the red fabric, the background, and it brought us to this level. I absolutely love the colors at this point. Everything is muted. It's really beautiful. We could have stuck with it, but let's just see what we did. So from there, I just did a bit of skin healing where you can see that we've removed blemishes from her face. It's not too prominent, it's not distracting the image at all, but getting rid of it just increase the polish level of the image that I absolutely love. Then I went on to run my frequency separation where I just smoothing out the skin a tiny bit, did a bit of dodge and burn to further smoothing out the skin, and then I also did another level just to add more shape to the image overall. So this one is adding a bit of shape, making her pop off the background even more. And then I went on to curves just to add a bit of pop. If you can see what I did in there, I just increased or crashed the shadows and the highlights, and then also just added a bit of an S-curve in the mid-tone area, and then that just added this nice pop and saturation to the colors and the image as a whole. Then from there, I ran my structure action just to add a bit of structure. It's very subtle, but it's present and I love it. Then from there, we run my color grade action and then just play with the different colors in there, and then we came up with this. And then from there, I run my noise filter just to add a bit of noise to the image, and then I also added a bit of sharpen just to sharpen the image a little bit. So you can see we didn't really spend too much time, just because I was going over the steps. That is why we spent a bit of time doing this. But I hope you learned something out of this tutorial, and if you did, let me know in the comments down below. If you want to see me retouching more images like this, let me know in the comments down below as well. Again, if you want to get my retouching workflow actions, they are linked below. Just go onto my website, you have access to them. And then also, if you want to get my color grading LUTs, even though I didn't use it for this, my skin tone LUTs, my melanin skin tone LUTs, I didn't use it here, but if you have that, it's also going to speed up your process. I just wanted to go a bit on the manual side. That is why I did it manually. So let me know how you feel about this tutorial, how you feel about the image. I'll catch you guys in the next video, and remember, don't ever give up.